on today's walkthrough, we're going to be showing you how to use our frame spacing tool in Solesca and showing you all the neat tips and tricks that will enable you to use a full power of our layout algorithm. So right now I have a single axis tracking system built up. We have a design template that was used in our previous video. I'm going to detach that template, and then I'm going to go down and we're going to be focusing in this racking section here. So this is where you can set the type of racking, the rotation limit, anything that is really racking specific. So right now we have a system that is in portrait. It's 1 frame high, and it is following like what I recommended, the modules per string for each frame. Now I want to really show you this feature. So let's actually delete all this and just do 1 by 24. If you notice that there's this frame spacing here, and each of these 2 spacings here is where that frame spacing is. Watch what happens when I just set a 24. Now what's going to happen is every single frame, you're going to be now seeing each of these is 1 string, and you have this frame spacing in between. Now if you wanted to, say, have no roads and set the roads yourself, what you would do is you'd set the frame spacing, frame wide to be 24, and the frame spacing to be 0.08 or whatever your distance is between the panels. Now we have no roads. You can make an obstruction, and you can make your own road here if you'd want, right? But that is not the purpose of the tool. What's great about this frame wide feature is you can do, this is 1 string, now we can do 2 strings, right? I'm going to increase this frame spacing just so you can see it visually. We can do 3 strings, right? So now we can do, my math is pretty bad, so I'm going to use this. This is 3 strings. We could do 4 strings. We could do 5 strings. We could do as many strings as you'd like. So you can keep entering them past 5. So I think the next one will be 144, so on and so forth. You have to click out for it to update. And now you have, this is, I think, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 frames all in one design. Now we like to default it to 4. So we're going to go back to 4. We find that to be the most common, 3 or 4, based off of the racking vendors that we work with. And what you'll see is you have those roads there. You can modify this frame spacing as needed. That's going to increase that gap there. And you can modify the horizontal spacing, which I'm going to modify this to be a little bit bigger than you definitely would put, which is 1 feet. You can see that these frames get longer because that is 1 foot in between each panel for each of these frames. Now going back to 0.08, that is just the spacing in between each of the panels in the frame. What we do is we show you not the whole, every single panel, we show you the entire frame length. Now what's also great about this feature is we have, as you can see, 4 frames. When you make an obstruction, I'll make an obstruction here, it will take out initially the entire set of frames. But if you treat it as a field obstruction, it's only going to take out partial. So now we've got 2 frames here and 2 frames removed because of this obstruction. Now if I move this up, we'll have 2 frames here, 1 frame here, 3 removed, 2 removed. That is why we can, one of the reasons to use the frames and treat as a field obstruction for obstructions. Now let's go and just show you how we can modify this. Let's do this for fixed tilt systems as well. So this is a fixed tilt array. We'll apply the auto row spacing just because we can. And then we have this set to 4 as well. Now one thing that we can do is we can set this as 2 high, and then in portrait, and then 4 long. So this is going to be 8 strings per frame group. So each of these blocks is 8 strings. Likewise, what we can do is we can delete all this, and what we'd recommend doing is doing 12, 24, 36, 48. That way each one is a single string long, and you can see how this works with the obstruction, right? It works in the opposite way where these are 2 strings, 2 frames with a couple removed, and then the entire one removed. And likewise, you have those walking or drive distances based off of that frame spacing right here. When you have multiple frame up, you also have vertical spacing. So you can do 0.08. That is going to be the module to module vertical distance right here. Like if, let's set this to something unreasonable, let's set it to 2, you're going to see how much thicker these are because now that 0.8 feet is now 2 feet in between there. So let's set this back to something more reasonable. And you have this. What's also nice is this follows our alignment line. So if I make an alignment line and I link this field, the frame spacing and the driveways also follow that alignment line. We can make this to be multiple, but I'd recommend just doing it straight. One last thing to show you is the carports feature. So we'll make a smaller array because carports are typically a lot smaller. And we'll apply that template for keep selecting the wrong one. For carport 5P, and we'll go down detach template, and we'll go down to the racking. What you can see is we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is 5P, 5 up, 1 wide. So if I make an obstruction somewhere in here, right, it's going to take out the row by row. If I want to remove an individual set, if I right click, it removes that one set. Now if I did 5 by 2, right, that's 10 strings per one, it removes 2 sets. Going back to 1, you can see that. I can re-add it back in. And this makes it very easy to have your 3 or 5 or 7 or whatever high carport by however many long. We don't know how long, but we do know how high up. That's why we have the frame up. And likewise, you'll just have the vertical spacing, and that horizontal spacing will be equal to this frame spacing now. This is now that module to module distance. Lastly, we actually have rooftops to go over. So let's go over rooftops real quick. Make a roof mount template. Same one that we did in the demo. Right, this is a lot of roof mounts. So we'll detach it here. What is nice is you have 1 and 1. So each one of these is an individual module now. Each frame is an individual module. We can remove individual modules, and we can draw obstructions that then remove individual modules as well. This is a very large and unrealistic rooftop, but just to give you an idea of how to properly use this frame wide and frame up function. I hope this was helpful. As always, if you have any questions, please feel free to click on this concierge request button or email us directly. And I hope you have a great day.